On this broadcast station does not necessarily reflect the opinion of the management of Rhema Word Broadcasting, Rhema Gospel Radio Incorporated, KOER LPFM, its affiliates, and or the staff and volunteers of these entities. Please direct all correspondence to the appropriate company's website and or business address.
Get ready for the striving woman herself, Felicia Lamb, a trailblazer and led to inspire, determined to give you a transparent moment while creating a masterpiece of her life with style and grace. It's time to soar with Felicia Speaks.
Welcome to another episode of Felicia Speaks. I'm real excited tonight because tonight's broadcast, we were supposed to have Felicia Jones on the show, but we're all striving women, and sometimes we get called off to do things that we need to do in order to better our communities. So she's doing her community outreach. She's going to call in a little bit later with a huge announcement for tomorrow. So I'm excited about what she's doing. And in her absence, I have a very special guest with me today. But before I announce her, I want to do my normal thank yous to everyone who supports Felicia Speaks, to my wonderful Felicia Speaks team, RE Connections. I really thank you guys for supporting me, my family. And this month, RE Connections is sponsoring the radio show, so I am really excited about that. So thank you to RE Connections for doing that. And just thank you guys for continuing to watch and continuing to push me to be the best that I can be. Now, today's show, we're going to talk about family. We're going to talk about education. And as many people know, some of the happiest moments of my life are with my family. And so tonight, I have the privilege of being with my family. And she's coming in tonight. We want to welcome to Felicia Speaks my cousin, Dr. Tamika Williams Bruce. Yes, I'm very excited to have you here tonight. I looked up a few quotes because I'm real big on education and I'm definitely big on family. And of course, one of my favorite poets, Maya Angelou, she says, I do my best because I'm counting on you, counting on me. Yes. And so I feel like, people are counting on us to do better. People are counting on us to be there for our children. And so I want you to go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us what it is you do, and tell us how you're involved in education.
Well, first of all, I'm very thankful to be here also. I am a human resources officer in a school district. That means we handle the hiring, the training, employee relations, including terminations, everything for a school district. So I'm just glad to be here. Family is important to me as well.
Yes.
So what better platform than to be by your side?
You're right. And you're also going to be one of the speakers at a Striving Woman Explosion in Nacogdoches. The Coming Home edition. We're coming home to Nacogdoches.
We are coming home.
Yes. And we're going to have a blast there. So you're one of my speakers. I'm so excited. And we have a real connection because your grandmother, Leatrice Williams, who was my cousin, but she was more like my aunt. And I love her dearly still to this day. She was a woman who pushed me to be the woman I am today. She told me I would be here. She told me, and she only gave me good vibes. She never, ever said anything out of the way to me. She was a wonderful woman. So I know she's looking down. She's really proud of you and really proud of me. And so that connection between us is really dynamic. I love it.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. So tonight, we want you guys to chime in. We want you guys to talk. I researched and found out something very horrible. So first, we'll talk about a little bit about the abuse that goes on in the United States with children today. I read it, and again, it's 700,000 children that are abused a year, and 300 million go through Child Protective Services. 3.4 million of those kids are They may go through the system, they may go through and they investigate, but then 3 million of those kids really have to go through Child Protective Services. And 4 out of 5 of those children, it happens with the parents. Mm-hmm. So I know you're in the school district, and I know that, as people, we want the best for our children, but a lot of times we don't want to go to the schools. We don't want to help them with their education. We don't want to do anything, but if they're fighting, if they're doing something, we'll show up in numbers and we'll be ready to fight the teachers and go against them, but we're not there for the children when they need us. So do you see a lot of that? I know you're not really involved with the children, but I know that you're in the school district. So
yes. So the thing is because it does take a village, I am around the children as well. So to be in a school district, you actually must have the passion for kids.
Right.
You go into the schools. You are a part of the decisions made toward the kids as well, regarding them and when things happen. But since I've been 18, I actually started volunteering first with the city of Huntsville through enrichment programs. And then I started to volunteer in the actual school districts. And I still do that today.
Okay.
And so as a mentor.
Okay.
And so as a mentor, many times I have come across kids that whether they've been in the system formally, they have been in situations where the police has been called to the home due to whether it was at the hand of the parent or a boyfriend or someone who has access to their home. So it is more frequent than it really breaks my heart when I'm talking to the kids.
Right.
Abuse is a normal for many of them. They've experienced it. Many of them since infancy, since childhood, since they can remember, that someone in their home, whether verbally or physically, was abusing them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And that breaks my heart too, because my heart goes out to children. They're innocent. They're a gift from God.
Right.
They're heritage. God gives them to us as a heritage. And we're supposed to be leaving legacies and doing great wonders for our children. And every day you turn on the news, it's another child being hurt. It's another child being abused. And it breaks my heart to know that parents they're not the way they used to be. Like the village raised us. The village really raised us. Yeah. We couldn't go to school and act crazy because the village was there. But there's no village anymore. There's no prayer anymore. The grandmothers are younger. So, they're out partying. They can't help the children because they're out partying. And the mothers don't know. So they're letting these men come in and abuse their children. And they would rather have a man any kind of way than to stand up and say, no, you are not going to abuse my child. So it really breaks my heart to know that these kids are being abused. And just give me your viewpoint on what happened to the family. What happened?
Well, I think that in an effort for us to do better than what we experienced, it's as if parents went to the opposite, the extreme left. So if it was on the right, how we were raised, they went to the left of, you can't tell my child what to do.
Right.
You won't do this, you won't say this, but at the same token, you still see things happening. Now, some of these things, many of these things, I would say, they were actually happening when we were little as well.
Right.
People just didn't want to talk about it.
Right.
So there were definitely molesters, abusers around, and the phrase was, don't you tell anybody what's going on in our house.
Right.
So what we're seeing now, it appears more prevalent because it is more exposure to it. Right. But what we have to do is learn a healthy way of doing things.
Right.
So we want to come together when we feel that it's an injustice, but I would push people to say it's an injustice if you are not involved in your child's life from beginning to end, 360 all the time. You have to be there. 365 days a year, but it's that what we call a 360 circle. An angle is 190, but 360, you have to be there for everything that happens in your child. But education is one of the most pivotal things.
Right.
And the uneducated can't be afraid to go to the school to help the child and say, I don't know how to help, but I need y'all to help me help my child.
Right.
And you go and you advocate for your child.
Right.
And what I'm seeing is we wait for these, it's almost publicity things that I see.
Yes.
Put that on live. But what you didn't see was everything that happened before that situation occurred where our child was out of line.
Right.
So when we say those children, I call them ours. They're our kids. It's our community. It's our, and it does affect affect us, but what is happening is infecting our community.
Yes, I agree.
How we are responding to the wrong thing.
Yes.
We're sitting up waiting on white people to do something to our kids so we can put that on blast and put that on video and put that on. But instead, we should say, where was I on Monday?
Yes.
Was I recording anything on Monday?
Right.
Did I run up to the school on Monday? Though little such and such is barely passing.
Mm-hmm.
And did I go up there and call? Did I go to meet the teacher?
Right.
Because the excuse is not that every parent is working.
Right.
Every parent is not working. But if you are working, you can actually set up a conference time.
Right.
You can have those conversations with a teacher at any time.
At any time. And my mom was a single parent, and my mom made plenty of time to make sure that I was doing what I was supposed to do. If I wasn't, she was there. If I, my mom was there. So I was there. I was a single parent for a while, and I was there. Right. My kids went to everything. I was, my daughter was in dance. My son was playing football. Whatever it was, I was there. In school, I was there. Making sure they were making good grades, making sure I had an appearance there so that they knew they had a mother. You may not have seen a father's presence, but you seen a mother when I was a single parent. And you knew that I was there, I was going to be there. Anytime you needed me, you could reach me on my phone.
Right.
I see my grandkids went to Carpenter Elementary in Nacogdoches. Yes, I did too. Well, Miss Jackson, hats off to Miss Jackson. Yes. Yes, she did an amazing job with us. But I went there. I was very, very disappointed because my grandson, I just didn't feel like he had the school stability. No one in the school there. And I told my daughter, you have to be present. So now he goes to school. He's ADHD, so they have said. And we're having a hard time. My daughter's at school all the time, but she has to show a presence. She has to be there so that the school knows she's available, as well as he knows my mom's going to come up here. My mom is going to make sure that I'm doing what I need to do. Even though it's a challenge, you still have to be there. And that's what the parents are not doing now. Yeah. They don't want to be there. They want to drop you off. They want to give you the electronics. They want to let you watch TV, send you outside. But they don't want to be responsible for the things that are important, like Absolutely. You said. Education is the key. And also protecting our children. Like, what happened to that? My mother, your grandmother, they would have gone to the end of the earth to protect us. My grandmother, Dolores, she's a little firecracker. She would not play anybody hurting us. And I don't understand. There's so many places to take children if you don't want them. Drop them off at the fire station, drop them off at the, hospitals with a friend, wherever you need to. But hurting our children, I don't understand it. And it is breaking my heart. It is just, the Malia Davis situation and she's not the only one. I just think she came up high in the publicity, and everybody she's the little face of Houston now. And unfortunately, since her, there's been many more.
Oh yeah. I mean, Malia's life, as short as it was,
yes,
it does show you that we have a time to enter and a time to leave.
Yes. Exactly.
She is being used to bring awareness. It's by no mistake that this young baby touched, because many kids her age have died.
Yes.
But not many kids have caught our attention for the length of time that because we don't hold attention long.
Right.
That's true. Society, we see things, we're becoming very desensitized.
To the next. Yes.
Yes. But she has captured our hearts.
Yes.
Many people feel for her as if she was our child or our loved one. And she is being used to bring exposure to where people, maybe if you see this baby's face, if you look in her eyes, if you see her toddling across that apartment complex, and that's the last time that anybody saw her, and then to hear of the horrific death and how they found her on side the road, maybe her life will change somebody else's life. When people will start to say something. You see it. You know when somebody's doing your child wrong. You see when somebody's looking at your child wrong. Instead of calling that child fast or hot, because she's a child. Let's talk about that grown man that's looking at your child.
Right. That is causing her to have those behaviors. You have to be really careful. I watch my grandchildren anytime they come in my presence, I'm looking, making sure everything's okay with them. And they don't go anywhere, but still, you still have to make sure, that everything is okay with them. And I have the conversations with my grandchildren. I had them with my children, and I have them with my grandchildren. If anybody touches you, if anything happens to you, you come and tell me. I don't care what happens, you come and tell me. And those are not the conversations that they're having with their children. This man is coming in and making them feel a little special, just a little. And that's taking precedence over anything else in their lives.
So we'll talk about that gap. Yeah. The reason that man is able to come in and do that is because the fathers are not present.
Right.
Many times. Sometimes they are.
Yeah.
But not present as in, I tell people, it is a shared responsibility with parenthood.
Yes.
The daddies don't get to just be part-time.
Right.
You call your child every day. You stop by. You go to the school. And so even when you were speaking, you said, I.
It was I.
And the thing is that many of us, that's what we saw, strong women as the pillars of our community, which they still can be and still are for some. But we also need for men to rise up and play a very active role. It doesn't matter how you've been trained. When you know better, do better. You said you love Maya Angelou.
Yes.
That was one of her quotes.
Yes.
When you know better, do better.
Yes.
You'll have the male who he knew he desired the presence of his father. And so if his father wasn't there, then why would you turn around and have multiple children and not be there?
Right.
You have the young lady who knew she desired the presence of her father. So then why do we excuse the behavior of the father that's tapping out and deciding when they come and when they don't? We have to push that in society. We have to be okay with having open communication about it. It's not me blaming. It's not me shaming. It's me calling out facts and saying it's a shared responsibility. The village starts with mom and daddy.
Right.
But yes, everyone else has a role too.
Right.
But we first need to rise up as those adults. We the ones who created the babies.
And you need to take care of them and be there. And I think that's what has changed. The dynamic of the family has changed. Because even back in the day, there was a mother and a father. Even if the father was tapping out, whatever he was doing, he took care of home.
That's right.
And that's what has happened. Taking care of home doesn't happen anymore. So we have these single mothers trying to do everything that they can. And then the absence of the father, it causes them, any piece of man that comes in makes you feel a relief. So you're leaving them with leaving your children with them before you really know who they are. Because you need that break or you need that time and you feel like, okay, he's being a father. He's disciplining my child, he's being a father. But you saw the abuse and you let it slide because you felt like it is okay for the abuse to happen. And that's a form of not protecting your children. I think, hey, do a background check on these guys before you date them. Something, because these men that are hurting these children, they have records. They have records a mile long. And just to have a piece of a man in the home with you, just to feel like you have a family, it's just not right to me. And it's not what I saw. I didn't see a man. My mom was single. My dad was there for a little bit of my life, but not much. And then my mom, my grandmother was single. So all I saw was women. And then, I was raised by a village of women. So the presence of a man, I didn't even know how to accept that.
Right.
And discipline my children was not even hey, wait. We didn't get those type of treatments, You're not going to beat my children or hit my children. So we got disciplined, but we were afraid, and we knew when my mom meant business, she meant business. And I think that now you don't whoop your children until you're that angry. I'm going to whoop you. I'm going to whoop you. And it's no threat to them. And then when you get so angry, that's when you lash out. Yeah. And that's when the abuse is happening.
For some.
For some.
Now you do have, so abuse also happens from women.
Oh,
so what happens is many men and boys are not comfortable with sharing the fact that they have been touched or molested, whether it's by a man or a woman. Since I've been an adult and since I openly talk about things that I encountered as a child, I have had men to talk to me as well. and many of them were actually accosted by women in their family, older cousins, aunts, and that's just taboo. People don't talk about that at all. But yes, it happens at the hands of both.
Yes.
And then what comes from this place of how do I get this child to be fearful, whether they've been an abuser or not, meaning physically, then all of a sudden the hits start, because now I'm about to be a little bit more aggressive with my intentions with this child. And some people, it's very methodical. People will be amazed. Some folks are well thought out in the abuse that they inflict upon children and how they do it. We are a broken people.
Yes, we are.
And we have to do a better job with not only exposing the truth, but allowing people to have that access to help, having these type of dialogues. We do, in education, we have what's called restorative circles. When trust has been broken or when someone has violated, you circle up and you talk about it.
Definitely.
And I've been telling people I need for the adults to start circling up.
Yes.
Because what you also find in the workplace are you have hurt and broken adults, and they lash out at each other as well. You start to see some of those behaviors from, when we were kids. But it's time for us to just take the mask off.
Yes.
Not be embarrassed, but for the protection of our children and for healing of ourselves and this world, because we need healing. For us to call out those things that we know are not right.
Yes.
Male and female. For us to start talking about it and then going through the process, because stopping doesn't happen overnight.
Right. This is a process. You've been doing it so long, and now, and in our community, we don't, I've said it before, counseling and getting help for things that we've gone through, it just doesn't exist. Like you said earlier, what happens in your house stays in your house. And it's just not, even for me, it wasn't healthy. Because I went to a place of where I needed somebody. I needed to talk through this. I needed to get it out because it was breaking me as a woman. Now, I didn't take that hurt out on my children, but I could have because of the things that happened to me. So I do understand that it is a place where some people may need to process some things out of their lives. But after you've gone through it so long, it becomes your new normal. And the new normal is just not working. It's just not working. And in this society, unfortunately, everything is on social media. And that is why it's more, prevalent now. We see it because everything is out there. I mean, everything. And the difference is when we were growing up, that didn't happen. I didn't know what was happening in your home, and you didn't know what was happening in my home. But now I would know what was happening. If your kids went and talked or if somebody saw something, they're going to make that, especially in our communities. That's why we see so much on the TV about our children, what's happening with our children, because they want to make it known that we are broken people. And we are. And we allow this to happen. And like you said, we march for injustice when it's another race. But when it's our own race,
it's okay.
It's okay.
We actually share the fight. We film the fight. We share it. We put on there what we would do if it was us. And it's okay. I'm thankful that you're doing this show, but I would even push people, share this. Share. No, they don't want to share this.
Oh, no.
They want to sit up and share nonsense. Profanity. Fighting. Other destructive behavior that oppresses us. We need to quit worrying about what white people doing to us. We're doing it to ourselves.
Yes, we are. I just said that. We're doing enough to ourselves that we don't have to worry about any other races because we do enough to ourselves.
That's right.
And you're right. I can post something, and if it's positive, I'll get the same people pushing it all the time. And you'll get a new person every now and then. But if it's something negative, you see it going around and going around and going around.
It's viral.
It's got 10 million views. And I'm like, wow. This was important what we talked about. And you're right. Share. And it's not about me. It's not about you. It is about helping the message that's going out to help these children. And not only the abused children, but to me it's a form of abuse if you're not helping your child be educated. Because it's there. We didn't have a choice but to learn, you had to bring home good grades in my home. That wasn't a choice.
That's right.
And so now it's a choice. He didn't go to school today because he didn't feel good. What was wrong with him?
That's right.
He wasn't running a fever. What happened to him? We had to go to school. I don't even remember missing much school because my mama didn't play that. But you see, kids missing so much school. You see, I even see the parents going up to the school looking any kind of way. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Because if I look good, I feel good. Yeah. And I feel like when you go up there, you're showing who you are. Mm. And your first impression means everything. So when you go up there, you look crazy, you go up there acting crazy, they're not going to take your child serious nor you serious. And that really bothers me. When I go to school and I see parents up there, I'm like, oh my goodness. And then you're acting crazy. So what does your child see? Your child sees the same thing. So how do you expect your child to go to school and learn and do better when you're showing them the behavior that they are showing at school in the first place?
Right.
I think everything is taught at home. I'm not saying every behavior, but a lot of the behaviors that our children pick up start at home. Mm-hmm. And they see it and they carry it on. And so, I know that you have children, mm-hmm. and I know that you're a good example for your children. But do they bring home anything else? Do you have to, set things in place? I know, for you and your their dad, do you have to set things in place?
Absolutely. Right now, my daughter, which the whole controversy of when do you give a cell phone, but mm-hmm. of course we use it for what you cover that in, as you say, for protection purposes or right. safety purposes. Right. You want them to have one. But my daughter hadn't had one in months because I took it away. She wasn't being responsible, okay. wasn't taking care of her business. There has to be consequences. Yes. And as much as we love them, and it does hurt us. I used to think that was a joke when your parent would say, it hurt me just as much as that. Yes. Like, no, it don't. It don't hurt you as much. But it really does. Yes. It hurts me when I have to discipline them. It hurts me. But I know, because I do believe that if I spoil the child and spare the rod, yes, they won't understand what that looks like to have consequences as adults. Right. So I do have to administer discipline, but we have to be consistent in that, as well as we have to keep it down here, like clearly articulate yourself. Right. Not to say I don't get mad and that I haven't, my son is taller than me now. Yeah. So, I had to help him to understand.
Help him understand.
I'm still your mama. But the discipline is necessary. Yes. Because life will not always go our way. And so we have to stay diligent in that. And sometimes it's easy to say, I'm gonna discipline, but you kind of fall back. I was so tired, I fell asleep, and then you just leave it where it is. Yeah. But if I fall asleep, I get right up that morning, and we're back on that conversation and putting measures in place.
And I know for me, I'll say for me, that was one of my things. And so I did notice that me as a single parent, and even after I got married, I noticed I would do that. Yeah. Like, you know what? You're gonna be in trouble, and I'm gonna. And then the morning, I fall asleep. The morning comes, they're going to school. Yeah. Evening comes, I don't feel like talking about it. And so I let it go. And a lot of times I felt guilty because I was a single parent and they didn't have a dad. That I tried to compensate for that by giving them everything and anything. Yes. And I think that's where we fall short too, because we're going to have our kids dress nice. They're going to be the best dressed kids at the school. But psychological problems are going on, or, we're not handling our business with the education side. They look really good because that's what we do as a people. Yeah. But we don't handle the other part. And I think that that's where I fell short. And my kids, they did good in school, but I think I overcompensated for things. So when they came to life and real life issues, Mama, what do I do? Mama, how do I handle that? But it also comes from learned behavior, because that's what my mom did. Yeah. My mom overcompensated. She gave us everything. And so when it came down to what do, I didn't know. Mm-hmm. I didn't know what to do. So I think that happens in our homes too, is that we try so hard to replace that person with something else. And then even when we pick the wrong man, it's still we're trying to fill a void. Yeah. And sometimes we're trying to fill the void of a father. And that's real, me not growing up with my father, I didn't know how to accept a man. I didn't even know what kind of man I wanted. Right. It's hard. It's very hard. And so if you don't even know what a man should be, what he should look like, what he should walk like, that he should be a man of God, that he should be all these things. That's right. Then that's how we end up picking these wrong men that are hurting our children, or vice versa, the wrong women that are hurting our children. Mm-hmm. Because they didn't have the female presence in the home. So, what do you think we can do to get back to the old way of the family dynamic and the village, pulling our village back. Think about that. We're going to take a break, come back. We're going to hear her answer. I also want you guys to call in, talk to us about it. The number is 346-314-4119 or 832-604-7949. We're going to hear from Felicia Jones, hopefully before the end of the show. She's out doing something remarkable that's going to happen soon, and she's going to tell us about it. If she doesn't tell us tonight, she's going to put it on my page tomorrow. So you guys tune in. Don't go nowhere. Please call in if you want to talk about this conversation with Dr. Tamika Williams Bruce. Please call in. Thank you.
Thank you. Daddy put on, it hurts me when she
discipline it. Huh?
The song's gonna be on cue.
Okay.
Yo, I'm going in like punishment. Put your faith in God, don't put it in the government. Hard for me to trust in it, cause they ain't got no love in it. That's why I worship Christ, because he never break the covenant. A black man trying to survive in the United States. It's kinda hard, cause the country got divided. Hate a Negro civil war, with this black on black crime rate.
It always hurts the grandparents. My mom was the same.
We can't expect them to do what's better than us do. It starts at the house, real men need to step up. Worry about that miracle whip, really need to catch up. It's all good, stack your bread, pockets make a muscle. But prioritize, man, God, family hustle. When God first, everything else falls into place. Without God, everything else just a disgrace. So don't worry about your mistakes.
Hi, Dwayne.
You got his grace, nobody can dictate where you go. Just improve and try to get straight. Keep having that big faith and watch God open up another door. I'm just saying, no time to stop playing, bro. Not sure what you waiting for, need to start praying more. Look, it's time to build up each other, turn these women into wives, stop making baby mothers. Stop killing our brothers over colors, fighting over a block that we don't even own. Good times getting tougher, but we don't have to suffer because Christ is on the throne.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you.
And I'm thinking my country might need an exorcist or at least a therapist because it's treacherous. Fighting for the country, you could be a homeless veteran. All blacks ain't thugs, all whites ain't prejudice, all preachers ain't reverends, all church folk ain't going to heaven in, and all Muslims ain't terrorists. Hold up, shots fired, catch a slug. You got your head in the clouds, I'm trying to wake you up. I wear a suit.
Thank you, Nita.
Calling me a thug. When the thug is the one with the gun and the badge, innocent man killed, I caught on the body cam. Rest in peace to Philando. Please don't shoot, I can't breathe, got my hands up. Sad truth is they don't understand us. How you gonna protect somebody you scared of? Why shoot to kill when you got a taser? And why you still trying to enslave us? Steal our culture and then change us. Create the whole problem, turn around and blame us. Got us confused, just wanna be famous. To be a dope boy or an entertainer, or be a stripper, anything to get your change up. They got us focused on the wrong things, bro. See, we all God's children cause he made us. And I pray Jesus make us my savior. You should get saved too before the days up, don't be a